Hello, and welcome back to Bumblebee. Since the beginning of 2023, there's been a lot of chaos going on in the news and the world to distract us, which is why you may not know that there's also been an insane amount of discoveries. Today we're going to be talking about some of these overshadowed headlines in the top 10 mysterious new archaeological finds that baffle scholars. We're going to start off first with the recent discovery of Virgil Shard. Areas like Baetica region of Spain are similar to areas and sites such as Pompeii in Greece. Debris of olden times is scattered in the surroundings, making pottery prospecting a very real thing. This is how a research team discovered a fragment of an amorpha dated back 1800 years. Normally, amorpha fragments ain't no big deal, even with writing on them. However, everything changed when the researchers began grasping the significance of the find. This was not just any ordinary inscription, it was a quote from the famous Roman writer Virgil, the first time his words have ever been found on an olive oil amorpha. Through careful analysis, the researchers determined that the text corresponded to the 7th and 8th verses of the book The Georgics. This ancient poem, penned by the celebrated Roman poet in 29 BC, delves into the agricultural practices and rural life of people. Once confirmed, the information was made public about the find on June 22nd of 2023. The researchers speculate that the author could have been a skilled laborer employed at the amorpha manufacturing facility. Nevertheless, the inscription reveals a surprising level of education and literacy beyond what's typically attributed to workers at that time. We really can't say for sure why the lines were written, but we do know that they appear on part of amorpha that wouldn't be seen. Maybe a worker there wanted to show them to a colleague. They could have been done by an adult or a child. What we do know is that this was done inside an amorpha factory, and that the lines were probably written from memory, concluded Gonzalez Tobar. You've heard of Sharknado, but have you heard of Dinoclone? Gabrielle was a tropical cyclone that devastated the New Zealand North Island between February 12th and 16th of this year. Unlike Sharknado carrying killer gore sharks around Los Angeles, this Dinoclone brought with it, well, just as it sounds, dinos. At the mountainous region where these new fossils are found, streams and rivers became raging torrents, with millions of cubic feet of rainwater lifting boulders the size of shopping trolleys and washing them through the lowlands of Hawke's Bay, which is how these fossils were uncovered after so long. Paleontologists believe that the newfound fossil vertebrae, which was discovered in March but only announced to the public now, may belong to the Elasmosaurus, a giant long-necked marine reptile that could grow around 45 feet and definitely isn't the Loch Ness Monster. Mongatanifa Native Forest is home to a host of fossils from the Cretaceous period, which is 145 million to 66 million years ago, with researchers finding the first dinosaur there in 1975. If any one place is the epicenter of New Zealand's paleontology, it's the Mongatanife, and particularly the Mongahunga Stream, said forest manager Pete Shaw. Judging from what we found in just one morning, Cyclone Gabrielle will largely contribute to our collective knowledge about the creatures that called this place home in the depths of prehistory. A normal day at work turned into a treasure discovery. Next up is the Boss statue. Alright, so announced on June 3rd of this year while working on the road in Hidalgo, Mexico, workers realized a big old chunk of rock they were digging up wasn't looking very normal and very rock-like. In fact, instead it's looking a little more like a stone statue of a boss-level indigenous leader. This bad boy is weighing 551 pounds total and is 5 feet tall, similar to other statues of rulers found in pre-Columbian city of El Tajín. Archaeologists investigating the recent discovery of the Hustek statue date it to the early post-clastic period between 1100 AD and 1200 AD, most likely removed from a public space and buried for protection. Hustek civilization flourished between 1000 BC and 1500 AD in what is today Mexico. Known for their impressive decorative pottery and textiles, Hustek people developed a complex social structure and polytheistic religion. The most famous architectural work is the Pyramid of Niches, which is known to have held sacred sculptures depicting the chief gods of the diverse pantheon of the Hustecs. However, they were one of the clans endlessly attacked and munched on by the Aztecs, aka the Mexicas, during the 15th century AD. They finally collapsed under the Spanish conquest, at which time they were subsequently transported to the Caribbean and sold if they hadn't died from smallpox. This is why the statue is of such a high archaeological and cultural value, for they serve as rare tangible remnants of the once rich cultural heritage whose ancient traditions only exist today in small communities. With this ancient culture having been so fragmented and almost lost to time, the discovery of the statue depicting a Aztec ruler is big news for this region of Mexico. Out of all the new archaeology finds this year and last, I feel like the underground mosaics have truly been the most widely circulated online. And now they've escalated. There's a whole damn mausoleum. I think one of the funniest parts of the discoveries made in London, England's central city area is that it ruins their plan to build more big old modern boring buildings. Instead, now they're forced to change the mission to archaeology and converting the area they found, instead of an eyesore high-rise, into beautiful tourist and local attractions. That's a win. The mausoleum discovery was announced on June 14th of this year, following that of a 26-long Roman mosaic, the largest unearthed in London for more than 50 years, which was announced in February of 2022. Only low walls, entrance steps, and interior flooring remain, but it does have two mosaics composed of small red tiles, each featuring a flower enclosed in concentric circles. The mausoleum would have originally housed coffins and other burial artifacts, but none of them were recovered from the structure itself. However, the excavation site around the monument wielded Roman-era belongings, including copper bracelets, glass beads, pottery, and over 100 coins. The discovery in the city's central Southwark area provides a fascinating window into the living conditions and lifestyles of this part of the city in the Roman period, Antonetta Lurs, a senior archaeologist, said. By the way, for the people who don't know that Rome once reigned over London, England, Emperor Claudius founded London, or Londinium, in 47 AD and ruled the city through the early 5th century. Packed beneath the mud of the river shores it once coasted, generations passed before they found the Hidden Waka, a traditional canoe of the Maori people that was recently discovered in the shallow waters of the Pattaya River in the Kananaki region of New Zealand. Current estimates are that it's more than 150 years old, leading the locals to speculate that it was intentionally hidden by their Maori ancestors to prevent it from being confiscated by the British colonial government during the 19th century. The colonial government forces at the time confiscated or destroyed any wakas in order to prevent Maori warriors from traveling freely by water. The history of the waka is essentially synonymous with the history of the Maori people in New Zealand. The original Polynesian Maori settlers landed in New Zealand between 1250 and 1300, and it was the waka that carried them there. The community believes that the ancestors led them to the waka, as it was discovered by teen Maoris who were in the area because of tuna showing up strangely dead. While the waka may not have been built and used frequently over the last 150 years, the Maori people still view it as a foundational technology that helped shape the development of their culture. That is why the new discovery has created so much excitement amongst the people who have occupied the region for 700 years. The iwi of Taranaki would like to see the waka put on display close to where it was recovered. In this way, it can be used as an educational tool to inform younger generations about their cultural roots and about the terrible oppression of the Maori experience during the bloody New Zealand wars. Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks or find more of a giant art collection decades after it was discovered? Turns out there's new Nazca Geoglyphs. And I have a serious issue with all these articles referring to them as uncovering. They're uncovered new geoglyphs. Guys, they are literally thousands of feet in dimension and carved into the earth. What is there to uncover if you literally couldn't cover them if you tried? Anyways, the Nazca Pampas geoglyphs were originally identified in the 1920s. Studies have been ongoing since the 1940s and have revealed a wide array of figurative designs encompassing zoomorphic designs, geometric shapes, and linear patterns. Geoglyphs in the Nazca Pampa can be broadly categorized into those three main types: figurative, geometric, and linear, and each category also marks the early, middle, and late Nazca people's phases. Since 2019, multiple new Nazca lines have been discovered by Japanese scientists and archaeologists using deep artificial intelligence learning model technique in the northern part of the region containing the Nazca lines. Masato Sakai, a professor of cultural anthropology at the university, said that we found an AI that can do in 1 year what it would take more than 20 years by one human alone. This will further accelerate the study of geoglyphs. The 4 new geoglyphs were announced on June 5th of 2023. The fish has an underbite, the bird measures 55.7 feet, there's a pair of legs, and I love the artistic digital rendition of the little human with the club. It's adorable. This cave has been dug around in for years, but now they've found some old new engravings. Announced on June 21st of 2023, the oldest known engravings in Europe, now discovered in a French cave that's been sealed up for tens of thousands of years, likely weren't crafted by modern humans, but rather Neanderthals, a new study finds. The cave analysis revealed that it closed up at least 57,000 years ago, and possibly as long as 75,000 years ago. Early dates mean that it's highly unlikely that anatomically modern humans had access to the inside of the cave, as current evidence suggests they weren't present in France until 54,000 years ago. Researchers found 8 panels with more than 400 traces of abstract lines and dots at La Roche-Cotard. The researchers call these traces engravings because they represent deliberate deliberate removal of material. To figure out what the engravings were made with, the researchers set up an experiment in a similar cave using fingers, bone, wood, antler, and flint to see what matched up the most. They were able to conclude finger markings were the winner. We conclude that the LRC engravings are unambiguous examples of Neanderthal abstract design, they wrote. The significance of these engravings does remain unclear. Although the finger tracings at La Roche-Cotard are clearly intentional, wrote researchers, it's not possible for us to establish if they represent symbolic thinking. My sci-fi fans will probably love this. It's the still shining sword. So well preserved, it almost still shines, is what archaeologists have dubbed the incredible find of a 3,000-year-old Bronze Age sword in the town of Nardelgang, or however you pronounce that, in Bavaria in Germany. This fortuitous discovery came to light during an excavation of a burial site containing the remains of a man, woman, and a youth. As of now, it's unclear if the three were related, and the sword's excellent state of preservation has just been psyching these nerds out. I'm talking selfies with it, oohing and awing. The archaeologists are like kids in a candy store with this thing, forgetting the 3 dead people at their feet waiting for their turn to be carbon dated. Hard to blame the researchers though, this thing is a beast, and normally they do not look like this. For comparison of preservation and why everyone's freaking out, look at these slightly younger Iron Age swords that were also found in Germany. This is normally what they would look like, so it makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it? Anyways, crafted from bronze and dated to the end of the 14th century BC, it's developed that green patina over time due to the oxidization of the copper present in the bronze alloy. Surprisingly, despite its apparent functionality, the blade bears no visible signs of wear or cuts, suggesting it may have served as ceremonial or symbolic. The sword and the burial site have to be examined so that our archaeologists can classify this find more precisely. Our next mystery is that of the failed population. Who knew some palm-sized chunks of bone in a cave could push back the earliest known date of Homo sapiens in Southeast Asia to as early as 86,000 years ago? Found inside Tampaling, Laos, this cave is known for holding the secrets to humanity's origins and motions in Asia. Debates about human colonization of Southeast Asia have taken place for decades as researchers have attempted to understand how and when humans crossed the straits and the seas to eventually end up in Australia. Tampaling is therefore a prime place to ask some of these questions about migration, since the mainland southeast of Asia really sits at the crossroads of East Asia and the island southeast of Asia and Australia. Previously found human bone fragments in the cave were 70,000 years old, making them some of the earliest evidence of humans in this area of the world. This discovery prompted archaeologists to dig deeper, in a literal sense, finding 2 new bones, and even though the bones were fractured and incomplete, the researchers were able to compare their dimensions and shapes with others from earlier humans, finding that they most closely matched Homo sapiens rather than archaic humans such as Homo erectus, Neanderthals, or Denisovan. The researchers used luminescence dating of nearby sediments and uranium series dating of mammalian teeth from the same layers to produce an age range for the human remains. The skull, they estimated, was up to 73,000 years old, and the shin bone 86,000 years old. While the genetic and stone tool evidence amassed to date strongly supports a single rapid dispersal of Homo sapiens from Africa sometime after 60,000 years ago, studies such as this one are producing evidence for earlier migrations, most of which have been dead ends, pun intended. Michael B.C. Rivera, a biological anthropologist, explains that perhaps this was a group that dispersed to Southeast Asia and died before they were able to contribute genes to today's human gene pool. I find the narrative of these failed populations interesting to add, so that we aren't just looking at the successful ones that made it. And now, what I feel is the most exciting and mysterious of all. A lost city emerges. Mexico's National Institute for Anthropology and History, the INAH, has announced that a team of archaeologists have identified a jungle-locked ancient Maya city. Discovered deep in southern Mexico, the previously unknown city comprises of large pyramids, stone columns, a ball court, 3 plazas with imposing buildings, and other stone structures arranged in concentric circles. Mexican archaeologists were able to harness LIDAR drones to undertake an extensive survey of the Yucatan Peninsula, yielding a remarkable discovery of a once forgotten city located in Campeche, the Balamcu Ecological Reserve. Archaeologists have named this lost Maya city in Mexico Ocontam, which in the Yoke Mayan language means stone column. The city, after its discovery in May, was journeyed to in person by Slovenian archaeologist Ivan Ajaprak, who then led a number of archaeologists into the dense jungle. The Ocontam site, like other Mayan settlements, is located on high ground overlooking extensive wetlands, something the INAH speculatively said would have been important as a Maya center for the entirety of the peninsula's central lowland region between 250 and 1000 AD. A series of central altars were discovered closer to the river, which the INAH say may have been designed for community rituals, and Ivan Sprajek explained that the cylindrical stone columns, which prompted the researchers to name the site, were probably entrances to rooms in upper parts of buildings. According to Sprajek, the city appears to be significantly rebuilt between 800 and 1000 AD, and the collapse of the lowland Milan civilization in the 10th century is still a question mark. But I mean, this whole thing didn't exist a week ago and now it does, so I think we can be easy on ourselves and them. Archaeologists, historians, and locals point to different reasons the civilization fell, such as an environmental, political unrest, warfare, and decline of trade. Most likely all these factors contributed to the collapse of the recently discovered city, but perhaps future excavations will help answer this historical mystery. Alright, that's the end of another video. Let us know if you're interested in a part 2. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.